Hello, this is Alan Wheeler on my channel where I usually talk about tarot and spirituality. And I will bring in some tarot today, but this is number 6 in this series I've been doing called Devil's Advocate. And this one is called Jesus as Satan. I think I'll be so bold as to call it that. Hopefully it won't be too long, as the title almost says it all. Now, I'm going to keep up my little convention, my little short-lived tradition of tearing out passages from the big family Bible here. And this first one is just an example of how Jesus is always at odds with the religious people. And even people who have not been to Sunday school probably know this much. And so in this particular passage, Matthew 12, the Pharisees, the scribes and the Pharisees, say it's only by Beelzebub, the prince of demons, that this man casts out demons. So they're calling him the devil, and the Jesus' answer is, a house divided against itself cannot stand. So, in other words, he's doing good. There's good fruit here. So although he's in opposition to the religious people, he's in the right here. He says, but they keep it up, and they say that he has a demon, and it's in many other places. And the strange retort is, they're the ones that are blaspheming, not him, and that anything can be forgiven, but they're blaspheming against the Spirit, and this can't be forgiven. So the left-hand path reading of this it seems that what they're calling an unholy spirit, a spirit that's not sacred, actually is. And so we know from Aleister Crowley, who talks about the holy guardian angel and the drawing of magic circles, sacred making of sacred space, that whether it's an individual or a tribe or a nation, they proscribe what's okay, what's in the circle of light, and what's outside, and what's in the shadow, what's unholy, what's blasphemous. And here, Jesus is redefining and saying, look at what he's doing. He's doing good things, and don't call what is good, what is sacred, white black and black white. So before I get too far along, I just want to look at a couple other examples of this before I talk about this reversal and flipping of things. Now, two places further in the same book, in chapter 23, I'm going to rip this out. And then from another book, chapter 8 of John, I'm going to rip that passage out as well. And this is where we see this extreme reversal of figure for background and background for figure. And in the again, just one example of many, in Matthew 23, Jesus is railing against the religious people And he's saying, woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, you hypocrites. You travel over land and sea to win a single proselyte, but you make him twice as much a son of hell as you yourselves. You blind guides, you rob widows, and you take money, and just a whole litany of offenses. And then he's at odds again in John chapter 8 with the religious people, quite adversarial, the role of the adversary once again. And Jesus says, you are of your father, the devil. And they turn around and they accuse, no, you're of the devil. And so, again, it's this reversal of who's right and who's wrong. So, looking at this, let me start with some tarot cards, just to reflect on this paradigm shift. And really, Jesus is in the role of adversary and coming against the exoteric religion. So in the tarot cards, we have the picture of Eden with Adam and Eve and the lovers. And then in the devil card, we get the Adam and Eve in this dark state. And they're under chains, everything's reversed, the torch is upside down, the pentagram is upside down, the figure's frowning, it's a beast-like creature instead of an angelic being here. So, right-hand path, left-hand path, light and dark, this kind of dualistic view of things. But if we look at the devil card in the Fool's Journey in tarot, temperance comes first. So there's death, that transition. Then comes temperance. But still, the great work, the great alchemical work, is still far in the mountains, far away up this path. And so then, card 15, the devil, comes, followed by the tower. We talked about in, I think, the first video, the Tower of Babel, called the House of God in Marseille. And here's the lightning striking it and the figures falling out, the rigid structure collapsing here. And so this dissolution, this dissolving, sets the stage for the cards to come, the star and the moon and sun and the new eon seen in the further cards progressing in the great work or the Fool's Journey. So this is the role Jesus is taking of the adversary, demolishing this religious structure and getting they pick up stones to stone him. Eventually, he'll be crucified for it, and the rest. Now, as I reflected on this as a process, I'm reminded of the concept, and I can't remember the exact source, but the idea that if you lose one world and go to another, you've just exchanged one for the other. But if you lose two worlds, you have a different experience that no paradigm can be trusted. And so you're not going to build another tower to take the place of that old rigid structure. When I first began experimenting with alternative spirituality, I'm going to draw a picture of the pentagram here. Just this symbol um, because of my because how I'd been taught for 20 years um, seemed very transgressive and difficult to face. And slowly I learned it represented the elements and nature and spirit along with the other four elements. Um, in dedication to the Morrigan, I got this ring, and later um, the Ouroboros with the pentagram inside. And so I had moved from one world to another world. And quickly, though, I encountered pagans who were just as rigid on their path as the Christians had been on their path. And not a lot of differences when it came to groupthink and identity and um, inclusivity and things like that. Then, um, experimenting with the left-hand path and some of the ideas there, and now I'm going to draw the reversed pentagram. So here's the flipping. Now, this was even harder, more transgressive for me. And this was the reverse pentagram of the devil and all the dark associations, and working with deities like Lucifer was transgressive, frightening at first, repulsive at first, thrilling then, kind of that new, fresh, exciting, branching out took place. But even this almost third world, this new eon, this new world can also become calcified, reified, and it can become, the old can become the mainstream, can be written in stone, or can become an exoteric, kind of a extrinsic motivation enforced from the outside in. And so some forms of Satanism I've seen accused of just being a reverse Christianity in some forms. And I was watching a video by A.E. Quetting the other day, and what would be to any kind of mainstream Christian utterly blasphemous. He was saying Yeshua. He wasn't even using the name of Jesus, but he said that this historical Yeshua was a black magician turning water to wine and so on. And people in the comments were saying, oh, I can't believe if I'd go be a Christian if I wanted to hear about Jesus. And it was just, it seemed as equally thoughtless as to what the real intent was and the real effect of what he was saying. Just kind of a knee-jerk reaction. So, in a way, he was flipping, you know, including, like I'm doing in these videos, reinterpreting the old myths, just like any other myth. And I think that's the stage we can come to where we're not at a constant state of tower, kind of like never leaving the teenage rebellion stage. And it's either, I think what comes, and I'll draw on here kind of a quick yin and yang figure, just to say that these kind of cycle or work together in some ways. And so it's either a non-duality or it's a kind of perspectivism where there's a balanced state of becoming. I think what the Temple of Set calls Kepher, as far as I understand it, that you're always becoming and never settling in to one state forever. And I think in the more balanced approach, the tools of identity and group work and so on, these things are used as tools, faith and whatnot, ritual. They're used as tools, but they're seen for what they are, as illusion, that there is no underlying essence there. And yet, as phenomenon, they can be useful. And so I think this is the state, the more healthy state, and the true left-hand path. Although A.E. Koetting eloquently stated, there is no path, as the individual forms these things out of chaos, staring down the darkness absolute, which is the future and the uncreated. And at this juncture of form and formlessness, there's a shamanic genesis as we make our way and use deity, use ritual from that internal loci. Now, let me come back, since it's the title, Jesus as the Adversary. He focused on the individual heart and demolished the religion of the time. He hung out with outsiders, sinners, wine drinkers, prostitutes, and Gentiles, and went outside of the tribal, nationalistic structure. And finally, he's adversarial in the sense that he said, call no one teacher. And he said, the Spirit will guide you. And it's better if I go away. And that, and so even within the passages that are used by the true believers, there are the seeds of this interpretation of the left-hand path. So I'll stop there, but thank you for watching, and I hope this has been some food for thought. Take care.